How does someone with no clear Wall Street record become advisor to billionaires? In the 1980s and 90s, Jeffrey Epstein built a powerful image. He claimed to manage money for the ultra-wealthy. He moved in circles of scientists, politicians, royalty, and tech leaders. Private jet, private island, luxury mansions. But here's the mystery. There's very little public evidence explaining exactly how he built that wealth. Still, doors kept opening for him. Until 2005, when one complaint to police changed everything. Next, the first report. It began with one report in Florida. Police started investigating allegations involving minors. Interviews followed. Evidence was collected. The case grew larger than expected. Multiple accusers came forward. Local prosecutors prepared serious charges. But then, negotiations began. What happened next would become one of the most controversial plea deals in modern legal history. Next, the deal. In 2008, Epstein avoided a federal trial. Instead, he pleaded guilty to state charges. Sentence, 13 months, but with work release privileges. He was allowed to leave jail during the day. Some federal prosecutors later said they were not properly informed about the agreement. Critics called it unusually lenient. But after serving his time, he returned to elite society. Next, the quiet years. After jail, he wasn't hidden from the world. In fact, he was right back where he started, mingling in plain sight. He continued to attend high-profile social events, mingling with powerful individuals and maintaining his influence across elite circles. All of this, despite his status as a registered sex offender, he remained deeply connected to the world of power and wealth. As the years passed, the intense media coverage began to fade. The headlines grew smaller, and eventually, the story went quiet. For a long while, it seemed like the world had truly moved on. The silence was almost total, and his past was becoming a memory. But in 2018, relentless investigative journalism brought every dark secret and buried detail back into the blinding spotlight. This time, the pressure was different. This time, it went federal. Join us next for the arrest. July 2019. It was a month that would change everything, bringing a decade of silence into a blinding federal light. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in New York, charged with federal sex trafficking. The world was finally forced to pay attention. This wasn't just a local case anymore. The FBI and federal prosecutors had stepped in, making it a matter of national importance. As search warrants were executed, a mountain of evidence was uncovered. From his mansions to his private island, the world was watching every move. The momentum was building for what promised to be the trial of the century. But just as the case was gaining speed, everything stopped. The story took its darkest turn yet. Join us in the next part for The Night in Jail. August 2019, a month that began with the promise of justice and ended with a shocking, world-altering event behind bars. In the early hours of August 10th, Jeffrey Epstein was found unresponsive in his high-security jail cell in Manhattan. The medical examiner's office issued a definitive official ruling. His death was a suicide. But that was only the start of the questions. Damning reports began to emerge. Security cameras covering his cell had reportedly malfunctioned during those critical hours. Furthermore, guards had allegedly skipped their mandatory checks, despite him being on suicide watch just weeks prior. Public skepticism exploded instantly. The inexplicable lapses in security fueled a firestorm of global doubt and endless questions. Conspiracy theories spread across the globe like wildfire, challenging the official story. Join us next for The Reaction. The internet erupted overnight. Across every platform, the news was met with disbelief and immediate skepticism. Viral hashtags trended within minutes, with millions demanding transparency as unverified reports flooded feeds. Political figures demanded answers, calling for immediate hearings to address the glaring inconsistencies in the story. The media turned its lens on the prison's security protocols. How could he be left unmonitored at the most critical moment? Trust in institutions became the heart of the conversation. It wasn't just about the man. It was a deep-seated doubt in the system. Investigations into jail negligence followed, with experts pointing to a pattern of systemic failure that went back years. But the biggest question remained: who else was involved? The spotlight shifted toward his inner circle. As the pressure mounts, the truth remains elusive, but new evidence is about to emerge. Next, the files. The silence was finally broken as the court documents began to be unsealed, releasing thousands of pages of previously protected testimony to the public. High-profile names began appearing in the filings, sparking immediate speculation across the globe about who exactly was involved. It is critical to remember, being named in these documents is a matter of public record, but it does not equal a formal criminal charge. As the records went public, civil lawsuits began to expand, pulling in more entities and individuals under intense legal scrutiny. Startling testimonies surfaced, providing a first-hand look at the events that had remained hidden behind closed doors for years. Despite the flood of information, many still felt they didn't have the full picture. The unsealed files answered much, but left even more in the shadows. The focus now shifts from the individuals to the broader connections that kept the operation hidden for so long. The investigation is far from over. Next, the network question. This became the biggest debate in legal history. Was it truly possible for one person to orchestrate everything? Did he truly operate independently, managing every single detail of this vast and intricate network alone? Or was there more? Or did powerful, high-level connections shield him from scrutiny and legal consequences for all those years? Think about the access. To this day, no broad criminal conspiracy has been legally proven in a court of law. The evidence remains elusive. However, the persistent questions about his influence and unprecedented access remain hauntingly unanswered. The search continues. Investigative journalists and victims alike continue to push for the full truth behind the heavy curtain. They won't stop. And that deep-seated skepticism leads us directly to the final and perhaps most haunting issue of all: the system itself. Next, the system. Stay tuned. This story isn't just about one individual. It's about the environment that allowed him to exist for so long. It's about plea deals behind closed doors, powerful legal teams that outpaced the system, and the institutional blind spots that turned a blind eye. How does someone operate for years, decades, before the consequences finally catch up? How does the process fail those it's meant to protect? Wealth can buy more than just things. It can buy direct access to the levers of power. Influence can shape the very narratives that reach the public. So, the real question is the same one we asked at the very beginning of this journey, the most difficult one for a society to answer. How did no one stop him until the next investigation?